The Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, will hit theaters soon, and it won't be anything like the original. Of course, we'll be seeing new faces, most notably that of Rachel Zegler, amid the actress's Snow White controversy.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Fans aren't too happy about Zegler, but luckily she's been apologetic and much more careful with her words this time around. The story will have a completely new setting 64 years ago, before Katniss Everdeen volunteers as tribute. The plot of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the origin story of the infamous president Coriolanus Snow, recounting his life as a young man in the capital. His family fell to hard times after his father's death, causing him to excel at the capital's elite high school, the Academy, and eventually be chosen as a mentor for the 10th Hunger Games. He becomes the mentor of Lucy Gray Baird, a defiant girl from District 12, who is determined to convince Coriolanus that she can survive the game if he cooperates with her. Audiences can expect many new experiences when they officially meet Coriolanus and Lucy Gray on the big screen. So what will be different? PanAm. The team behind Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes returns to PanAm with a whole new aesthetic. The story of the capital in Katniss is clearly futuristic, technologically ahead of the districts. However, 64 years ago, PanAm was more classical in style, with televisions and cameras reminiscent of 1950s technology. PanAm's buildings, especially the Academy where Coriolanus studied, had decorative styles art popular in America in the 1920s. The classical aesthetic for PanAm will immerse audiences in the prequel's world, while also demonstrating how quickly the capital will expand into the future while exploiting the districts. The Parliament building will be an important location. Unlike the Hunger Games, the capital will be the main location for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Even though Katniss and Peeta spent time in the capital on their way to the games, they remained strangers. However, Coriolanus is a citizen of the capital. This means the public will get to see more of the capital before they tour the Academy and matches. Additionally, the film will show how the city was rebuilt after the Dark Days, the first uprising against the district capital that the Hunger Games only mentioned as a distant history. A new perspective. When Collins first announced Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, fans were skeptical about learning the origin story of a brutal dictator like President Snow. Moviegoers will have to have the same faith as book readers and follow Coriolanus' efforts to keep Lucy Gray alive, while also trying to maintain her family status. Katniss is easy to root for. She's rebellious, determined, and capable, fighting against an oppressive force far greater than her. The movie doesn't necessarily ask anyone to root for Coriolanus, but Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes could change the way audiences view Snow. A more self-contained story. In 2020, when Suzanne Collins published Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, she published only one book. Readers don't need another book to tell the story of Coriolanus Snow, because they already know what kind of dictator he will become in the original series. Audiences will see how Coriolanus' life changes when he meets Lucy Gray and forms a deeper bond with her, while trying to keep her alive in the Hunger Games, while also discovering how the man left at the end of the film is the man who will go on to becoming President Snow. District 12's tribute is very different from Katniss. Although Lucy Gray and Katniss are both from District 12, their similarities end there. While Katniss appears stern and indifferent to the capital scene, Lucy Gray has captivated capital audiences since the day of her reaping. She is a member of a traveling musical troupe called Cave, and she finds favor in the capital for her talents as a singer and guitarist. While Katniss must embody the image of the girl on fire, Lucy Gray does everything she can to build her own image in an effort to ensure she survives the Hunger Games. It is also hoped that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes will correct the book's mistake of not showing more of its point of view and shed more light on the story. The central love story is much darker. Coriolanus develops romantic feelings for Lucy Gray during their time together. However, their relationship is much darker than Katniss and Peeta's love. Based on the events of Catching Fire, Katniss and Peeta will do anything to keep each other alive. They face the Hunger Games as tribute, but Coriolanus and Lucy Gray are not equals. It was Lucy Gray who had to fight for her life in the arena and endure the Capitol's violence, while Coriolanus remained safe with the organizers. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes may have to work harder to win the sympathy of the audience, depending on what happens on screen. More answers than questions. One of the most exciting things about any prequel is finding ways to connect it to the original, and there are plenty of Hunger Games connections in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. In addition to exploring an important issue, President Snow's rise to power, it will also examine other mysteries of the Capitol, such as the nature of jays and other hybrid dogs. For those who want to know the origin of the famous song The Hanging Tree, or learn more about who Tigress Snow is, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes provides insight into these questions and many more from the original series. Sympathy for Coriolanus and the Snow family. The only citizen of the Capitol that viewers were able to bond with in the original films was Effie Trinket, who eventually left the Capitol to live with everyone else in District 13. However, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes will tell us of the struggle of Coriolanus and his family to retain both their family name and their homeland. While their struggles are not comparable to those of the residents of the districts, what is unique is that this series shows Capitol citizens struggling. While it's hard to feel sympathy for Coriolanus, the story still manages to offer something to someone like Tigress, who does everything he can to keep his family afloat. The 10th Hunger Game will look much smaller. There are a lot of things that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes Hunger Games won't have, like Katniss's Hunger Games. The central plot point is how Coriolanus presents new ideas on how to make the Hunger Games a more horrifying spectacle. In the trailer, when Lucky Flickerman interviews Lucy Gray, this is the first time the Capitol interviews the tributes before sending them into the arena. The arena itself will be a far cry from the complex arenas that Katniss must navigate. Politics. The Hunger Games is a benchmark for young adult fantasy stories in the 2010s, gaining popularity after the book's publication. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes deviates from the typical dark story of the overthrow of a tyrannical government. In this movie, this dictatorial government has completely regained power, and all the characters have no other choice but to try to survive. The film will follow Coriolanus as he navigates the Capitol snake pit, from cruel head game maker Dr. Volumina Gaul to scheming Academy Dean Casca Highbottom. While Katniss fights against the Capitol, Coriolanus will fight for the Capitol's approval. This November, audiences will get to return to the world of the Hunger Games, but it won't be anything like they've seen before.
What do you think? Comment down in the section below and don't forget to like and subscribe.